The current mainstream understanding of narcissistic abuse often misses its most critical component, its parasitic and systemic nature. Over time, even terms and signs meant to liberate can be turned into tools of entrapment and further abuse. This is why relying solely on normalized narratives, naming conventions, or visible signs is dangerous. What begins as truth can quickly become weaponized. To navigate this, one must learn to recognize the parasitic, predatory essence of narcissism, not just in individuals, but as a force that moves through people, institutions, and culture. This force is not inherently human, it is an invasive energy that uses human forms and systems to spread. When you detach it from the individual and instead observe it as a pattern and essence, you begin to see its mechanisms more clearly. Societal structures as rituals of scapegoating. Narcissistic abuse isn't limited to interpersonal dynamics. The very structures of society. Misogyny, classism, religious indoctrination, monarchies, are all manifestations of this parasitic force. These systems probably arose from a few persons but are perpetuated through collective, systemic rituals that operate like ongoing black magic. Sacrificing the innocent. Siphoning others' value, energy, and creations. Pushing guilt, shame, and poverty onto others. These rituals are not metaphorical. They are embedded in daily life through conversations, social expectations, economic systems, and emotional manipulation. Language as a trap. Language itself can be turned against you. Once you adopt the common names and definitions, you enter a structure that can be manipulated. The solution is to create your own private language, words and meanings only you understand. These definitions must remain unshared to protect your clarity and power. Beware of false empathy and exchange. One of the main tools of narcissistic systems is usury, not just financial, but spiritual and emotional. Gifts and favors are often given with the hidden intention to indebt. This creates a false bond of obligation. To protect yourself. Avoid taking or giving gifts or favors unless you fully trust the energy. Observe how your reality shifts after receiving or giving, even from people who you trust. Be very honest with yourself about your observations, see the patterns of and don't share them with anyone. Adjust your trust patterns and your protections. The world as a black magic grid, how patriarchal systems mirror narcissistic rituals. The world we inhabit is not merely unjust, it is a complex, generational ritual of systemic narcissistic abuse. At its core, this world functions as a black magic grid, a deeply embedded energetic and physical structure, built to siphon life force, value, and agency from the many to benefit the few. This is not metaphor, it is mechanics. Black magic, in this context, is not the stuff of fiction or folklore, it is the systemic design of domination, illusion, inversion, and spiritual robbery, disguised as culture, religion, economy, and morality. The patriarchal spell. Patriarchy, as we know it, was not simply a social evolution but a deliberate construction, a system engineered by psychopathic male minds that created a hierarchy based on the objectification, abuse, and scapegoating of women and children. This system is not merely sexist, it is sorcery. The ritualistic dehumanization of the feminine, the turning of women and children into property, has been the foundation stone of every institution, religious or political, that has governed us. At the top of this pyramid are the kings, elite male figures who mirror monarchs in their detachment from responsibility and hunger for power. Below them are their court members, the enablers, strategists, and loyalists. And beneath them, the mass of working men, the dummies, groomed to sacrifice their bodies in war and labor, falsely told that their suffering is noble and done for women and children. In reality, they die for the very men who oppress them, while being conditioned to hate the people with whom they could otherwise unite. This hatred, misogyny, is not accidental. It is the original fracture. Misogyny is the first and most essential fractal of narcissistic abuse, a necessary spell that keeps men divided from women, and women divided from themselves. Without this divide, the illusion would crumble. Religious institutions as narcissistic cores. Religion is not a separate entity from this system, it is its heart. Religious institutions were not corrupted over time, they were designed from the outset to function as narcissistic courts. Each major religion has created, maintained, and justified hierarchies of abuse, submission, shame, and spiritual robbery. They institutionalize the roles, the narcissist as god or leader, the enablers as priests or elders, the dummies as the obedient faithful, and the scapegoats as the sinners, heretics, and witches. This structure is not limited to organized religion. Each individual narcissist recreates this microcosm in their own life. Their home becomes a kingdom, their belief system a private religion. They demand loyalty, create enablers, manufacture illusions, and scapegoat the most vulnerable. Stay invisible, stay sovereign. For those who see the workings of this parasitic structure, the safest path is one of strategic invisibility. Create facades. Minimize contact. Avoid close relationships. See clearly but do not expose. Build resource streams that do not depend on others. Make your spiritual hygiene a full-time job. This is the way to stay human in an inhuman system. This is how you reclaim your soul and your life from the black magic of society. Don't share what you know. Do not reveal your vision as soon as you have it to help the world. Act in alignment with your inner truth, but keep that truth protected, safeguarded behind silence. Because the moment you speak it openly, the system you see will see you too. And once it does, it will turn on you. Even if it initially seems like you're making a difference, the exposure alone can begin to erode your essence. Contact with the toxicity of society can pull you back in. You may still speak the truth, but it will become diluted, drained of spirit, hollow in impact. Real transformation cannot occur from within a structure designed to consume and invert all that is sacred. This society does not allow the awakened to remain intact. If you stay too long, it will either destroy you, or worse, reshape you into one of its own. What once was essence becomes performance. And even if your words remain true, the energy behind them no longer carries the same weight. If you are to share your knowledge, do so only with full protection and spiritual shielding. True knowledge is not meant to be broadcast, it is meant to be guarded, lived, and directed with care. Remember, your private alchemy, your unseen inner transformation, often carries far more spiritual power and creates deeper change across the entire grid than any public revelation ever could. But this inner work must be done for you, not for others. Any impact it has on others must remain a byproduct, not the goal. The moment you make others the focus, the potency is lost. This is precisely why we are conditioned into selflessness, from childhood onward, so that our transformation becomes harmless, de-weaponized, and redirected outward before it can become truly powerful. And if you share your knowing prematurely or without protection, you don't just endanger yourself, you endanger the knowledge itself. The system doesn't want the truth in order to grow, it wants it so it can strip it of power, invert it, and render it useless.